This video contains images and content generated or assisted by artificial intelligence.
This is invalid. The sharp sound of tearing cardstock silenced the bustling crowd at gate B32. Bellamy Galt, the gate agent, let the shredded boarding pass rain down like confetti at Maya's worn sneakers. Seeing only a girl in an oversized hoodie, Bellamy sneered, "Stick to the back of the bus where you people fit in." She thought she was humiliating a ghetto stowaway. She didn't realize she was blocking Maya King, the daughter of the airline's CEO. Bellamy wasn't just losing her job. She was unknowingly shielding a smuggling ring that Maya was about to expose, turning her power trip into a prison sentence. The fluorescent lights of JFK's Terminal 4 hummed with the chaotic energy of the holiday rush. Rain lashed against the floor-to-ceiling windows, blurring the tarmac into a smear of grey and steel. At gate B32, the atmosphere was tense. Flight RH-882 to London. Heathrow was delayed by 45 minutes, and the impatience in the air was thick enough to choke on. Standing behind the sleek, polished podium of the first-class gate was Bellamy G. Bellamy did not simply work for Regal Horizon Airlines. She believed she was the airline. With her uniform pressed to a razor's edge, her blonde hair pulled back in a bun so tight it pulled at her temples and a layer of foundation that cracked when she frowned. She viewed herself as the gatekeeper of civility. "Preston, check the monitor again," Bellamy snapped without looking at her younger colleague. "I won't have the boarding sequence ruined by a computer glitch." Preston, a nervous young man with barely a year on the job, tapped furiously at the keyboard. "It's clear, Bellamy. We're ready for pre-boarding. VIPs and first class, first as always." Bellamy adjusted her scarf, her eyes scanning the waiting area. She wasn't looking for passengers. She was looking for problems. She prided herself on her ability to spot upgrades people who tried to sneak into zones they couldn't afford. She had a mental checklist: worn shoes, anxious body language luggage that looked like it came from a discount bin. Her gaze landed on a figure sitting alone in the far corner of the priority seating area. It was a young black woman, seemingly no older than 22. She was curled up in one of the leather lounge chairs, wearing an oversized grey university hoodie, black leggings and battered sneakers. A pair of large, noise-cancelling headphones tested around her neck, and she was tapping away on a cracked smartphone. A worn canvas duffel bag sat at her feet. Bellamy's lip curled. "Prion," she whispered, leaning in. "Look at that over there." Preston squinted. The girl. "What about her?" "She's in the priority zone. That area is reserved for gold medallion members and first-class ticket holders only." "Maybe she is one," Preston suggested, though he shrank back under Bellamy's withering glare. "Don't be naive," Bellamy scoffed. "Look at her. She looks like she's waiting for a bus, not a transatlantic flight on the world's most luxurious carrier. She's obviously lost or worse, loitering to charge her phone." "Go move of her." Preston hesitated. "We start boarding in 2 minutes. Is it worth the fuss?" "It is always worth the fuss to maintain standards," Bellamy hissed. "Fine, I'll do it myself. I need to stretch my legs anyway." Bellamy stepped out from behind the podium, her heels clicking aggressively on the terrazzo floor. She marched toward the girl Maya, who was currently texting her father to let him know the flight was finally boarding. "Dad's safe flight, sweetie. Try the lobster thermidor. I had the chef revamp the menu last week." "Maya will do. Just want to sleep, honestly. Exams were brutal." Maya didn't notice the shadow falling over her until a sharp voice pierced her focus. "Excuse me." Maya looked up, blinking. She slid her phone into her pocket. "Yes." Bellamy stood with her hands clasped in front of her, a posture that feigned politeness but radiated hostility. "This seating area is reserved for priority passengers. The general boarding area is back toward the food court near the restrooms." Maya looked around the half-empty priority section, then back at Bellamy. "I know I'm on this flight." Bellamy let out a short, condescending laugh. "I'm sure you are dear, but economy passengers have to wait in the general terminal. We can't have the first-class lounge cluttered. It's a matter of policy." Maya sat up straighter, her expression hardening slightly. She was tired. She had just finished her final year law exams at Columbia, and she hadn't slept in 24 hours. "I'm not in economy," Maya said calmly. "I'm in first." The lie, as Bellamy perceived it, was so bold it actually made her smile. A cold, reptilian smile. First class you. Bellamy's eyes ran over Maya's hoodie and the canvas bag. "Let's not play games. I've been working this gate for 15 years. I know what a first-class passenger looks like. And they don't look like you." Maya reached into her pocket. "I can show you my boarding pass. I don't need to see a fake digital pass, honey." Bellamy interrupted, raising her hand. "I need you to move now before security has to get involved. We have legitimate VIPs arriving any second, politician CEOs, and I won't have them harassed by someone looking for a handout." Maya froze. The accusation hung in the air, heavy and ugly. "A handout," Move Bellamy commanded, dropping the facade of politeness entirely. "Back of the line." Now Maya took a deep breath. She knew who her father was. She knew she could end this woman's career with a single phone call. But Arthur King had raised his daughter to be humble, and more importantly, to be fair. She didn't want to use her name as a weapon unless she had to. "Fine." Clear's throat, Maya said quietly. She grabbed her bag and stood up. "I'll board when you call the group, but you should really check your manifest." "I know my manifest by heart," Bellamy muttered, as she turned her back on Maya, marching back to the podium. "Trash." Maya heard the word. It was faint, but she heard it. She tightened her grip on her bag, her knuckles turning white. She walked to the edge of the priority carpet and stood just outside the invisible barrier, watching Bellamy laugh with Preston. Clear's throat. "Did she move?" Preston asked. "Of course she did," Bellamy gloated, checking her watch. "They always do when you call their bluff, probably waiting for standby or trying to sneak an upgrade." The intercom chimed. Bellamy grabbed the microphone, her voice transforming into a smooth, professional purr. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Regal Horizon. Flight 882 to London is now inviting our first-class passengers and Diamond Club members to board at this time." Clear's throat. "Please have your boarding passes ready." A small group of well-dressed individuals rose from the lounge. A man in a tailored Italian suit, an older couple dripping in diamonds, and Maya. Maya stepped right back onto the priority carpet, falling in line behind the man in the Italian suit. Bellamy saw her coming, her eyes widened, not with realization, but with pure, unadulterated rage. She stepped out from behind the podium again, blocking the boarding lane. "I warned you," Bellamy said, her voice loud enough to draw the attention of the man in the suit. "I told you to go to the back. You are not boarding with these people." "I have a ticket," Maya said, holding out her phone. The screen displayed a QR code and the bold letters seat 1A. Bellamy snatched the phone from Mia's hand. She looked at the screen, then at Maya. "Seat 1A. You expect me to believe this? This is the most expensive seat on the plane. It's usually reserved for diplomats or the owner's family. Maybe you should scan it and find out Mia challenged." Bellamy sneered. "I'm not scanning a Photoshop job. You're holding up the line." Clear's throat. She shoved the phone back into Mia's chest. "Security," Bellamy yelled, waving toward a pair of TSA agents standing near the food court. "Is there a problem?" the man in the Italian suit asked, looking annoyed. "I'd like to board." "My apologies, sir." Bellamy said, her voice dripping with honey. Just dealing with a stowaway. She's refusing to leave the first-class line. I am not a stowaway, Maya said, her voice rising. I paid for this ticket. Well, my father did. Oh, your father. Bellamy mocked, playing to the crowd now. Does your father know you're out here, harassing paying customers? Did he buy you this ticket with his imagination? The TSA agents were approaching. Maya felt the heat rising in her cheeks. It wasn't embarrassment. It was the slow-burning fury of injustice. Scan the code, Maya demanded, stepping forward. Do your job. My job is to keep this flight safe and exclusive, Bellamy retorted. And you are neither. Bellamy looked at the paper boarding pass. Maya was also holding a backup she had printed at the kiosk, just in case her phone died. It was a habit her father instilled in her. Give me that, Bellamy demanded, snatching the paper stock from Maya's other hand. Hey, Bellamy held the cardstock up. It looked authentic. It felt authentic. It had the gold foil strip of the ultra-first tear. For a second, a flicker of doubt crossed Bellamy's face, but then she looked at Mia's sneakers. She looked at the hoodie. Prejudice overrode logic. No, Bellamy thought. She stole this, or she found it, or it's a glitch. This is invalid, Bellamy announced loudly, and then, with the entire gate watching Bellamy G, did the unthinkable. She took the heavy cardstock boarding pass between her manicured fingers and ripped it in half. Then she ripped it again. The sound was sharp and final. She let the pieces flutter to the floor like confetti at a twisted parade. There, Bellamy said, dusting her hands off. Now you have no ticket. Get out of my line. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the man in the Italian suit looked shocked. Preston's jaw had dropped behind the podium. Maya stared at the pieces of her boarding pass on the dirty airport carpet. She looked up at Bellamy, her expression unreadable. You shouldn't have done that, Maya said softly. I just did. Bellamy smirked, crossing her arms. Now, officers, please escort this young woman away from the gate. She's causing a disturbance. 2 TSA agents, a burly man named Clear's Throat Officer Davis, and a younger woman stepped up. Officer Davis looked weary. Miss, you need to step aside. I have a digital ticket, Maya said, holding up her phone again. She just ripped up my physical copy. She refused to scan me. Bellamy rolled her eyes. The digital one is fake too, officer. I checked the manifest earlier. There is no Maya King listed in Seat 1A. Seat 1A is blocked for administrative use. This was a half-truth. Bellamy had seen Seat 1A was blocked on her screen, usually meaning it was empty or held for pilot rest. She hadn't bothered to click the detailed passenger info tab because she was so sure of her assumption. Officer Davis looked at Maya. If the airline says you aren't flying, miss. You need to come with us. I am flying. Maya insisted, planting her feet. I demand you call the flight manager. The flight manager is busy prepping the aircraft. Bellamy lied. I am the senior gate agent. My word is final. You are trespassing. 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 Maya laughed, a dry, humorless sound. I'm a customer. You're a nuisance, Bellamy shouted, losing her composure. Look at you. You look like you just rolled out of bed in the ghetto. You don't belong here. You are ruining the experience for these fine people. A gasp went through the line. A woman in the back took out her phone and started recording. Maya's eyes narrowed. Say that again, I said. Bellamy stepped closer, lowering her voice, so only Maya and the officers could hear. You don't belong in first class. Stick to the back of the bus where you people fit in. Maya didn't flinch. She didn't scream. She simply unlocked her phone. She didn't call the police. She didn't call customer service. She opened a contact labeled Dad Personal and hit the video call button. "Put the phone away," Bellamy snapped, reaching for it. Officer Davis stepped in between them. "Ma'am, don't touch the passenger." He looked at Bellamy, sensing something was off. Snorts. "Miss," he said to Ma. "Who are you calling?" "The owner of the airline," Mia said calmly. Bellamy burst out laughing. It was a shrill, manic sound. "The owner. You're calling the owner. Oh, this is rich. Is the owner your uncle, your sugar daddy?" The screen connected. A face appeared. It was an older black man with a salt and pepper beard sitting in a mahogany-paneled office. He was wearing a tuxedo, clearly in the middle of an event. "Maya," the voice boomed from the speaker. "I thought you were boarding. Is everything okay?" Bellamy froze. She recognized the voice. It was deep, resonant, and familiar. She had heard it in the mandatory corporate training videos. She had heard it in the annual holiday greeting sent to all 50,000 employees. Maya turned the screen so the camera faced Bellamy. "Dad," Mia said, her voice steady but cold. "I'm at gate B32. This woman, Bellamy Galt, just ripped up my boarding pass. She told me I don't belong in first class. She called me a nuisance and implied I stole the ticket." And Maya paused, looking Bellamy dead in the eye. "She told me to stick to the back of the bus where my people fit in." On the screen, Arthur King's face went from warm to terrifyingly stoic. The air in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees, or she said, "What?" Arthur's voice was a low rumble. Bellamy's face drained of all color. Her hand started to tremble. She looked at the phone, then at Ma, then back at the phone. Mr. King," Bellamy stammered. "Who is this?" Arthur demanded. "Put me on speaker loud." Maya tapped the button. "Your undad. This is Arthur King, CEO and founder of Regal Horizon Airlines." The voice thundered through the quiet gate area. "To whom am I speaking?" Bellamy couldn't breathe. Her throat felt like it was closing up. "So, Mr. King," Clear's throat. I didn't know. I mean, she didn't look like what Arthur cut in. She didn't look like my daughter, or she didn't look like a human being deserving of respect." Preston, sensing the nuclear fallout, stepped away from the podium, distancing himself from Bellamy. "Sir, it was a misunderstanding," Bellamy cried, her voice pitching up in panic. "She was wearing a hoodie." "The system said the seat was blocked. I was just trying to protect the airline." "You protect my airline by treating every single passenger with dignity," Arthur roared. "Not by profiling them. Did you rip her ticket?" Bellamy looked down at the shreds of paper on the floor. She couldn't deny it. The evidence was literally at her feet. Did you rip her ticket?" "Yes, sir," Bellamy whispered, tears of terror welling up in her eyes. "I thought it was fake." "You thought it was fake because you couldn't conceive of a young black woman sitting in seat 1A, Arthur stated flatly. "That is not a mistake, Miss Galt. That is a character flaw, one that Regal Horizon does not employ." The crowd at the gate was tail-hanging on every word. The woman recording the video zoomed in on Bellamy's shaking face. "Dad," Maya said, turning the camera back to herself. "She also called the police on me." "They're standing right here." "Let me speak to the officer," Arthur said. Officer Davis stepped forward, looking slightly struck. "Officer Davis, NYPD, sir. Officer Davis, my daughter is Maya King. She has full authorization to be on that flight. In fact, she is a board member of the subsidiary holding company. If you drag her off that plane, you will be hearing from my legal team within the hour for unlawful detainment." "That won't be necessary," Mr. King. Officer Davis said, immediately stepping back. "We were just responding to the gate agent's call. There seems to be no issue here on the passenger's end." "Good," Arthur said. "Now put the agent back on." Clear's throat. Maya turned the phone back to Bellamy. Bellamy looked like she was about to faint. "Miss G," Arthur said, "what is your employee ID number?" "RA44492, she sobbed. "RA492, Arthur repeated. You are relieved of duty effective immediately. You are not to board that plane. You are not to touch any Regal Horizon equipment. You will hand your badge to your colleague." Arthur paused. "Who is the other agent there, Preston, sir?" Preston squeaked, stepping into the frame. "Preston," Arthur said. "Take her badge now. Escort her out of the secure area." "But, sir," Bellamy wailed, "I have 20 years my pension." Clear his throat. "Please, it was just a mistake. I'm sorry, Miss King. I'm sorry." She reached out toward Maya, but Maya stepped back. "It wasn't a mistake when you ripped the ticket," Maya said. "And it wasn't a mistake when you judged me. It was a choice," Preston Arthur commanded. Now Preston, shaking but obedient, held out his hand. "Bellamy the badge." Bellamy looked around the gate. The man in the Italian suit was shaking his head in disgust. The couple with the diamonds looked appalled. The camera phone was still pointed at her. She had been stripped bare in front of the very audience she tried so hard to impress. With trembling fingers, she unclipped her badge, the symbol of her authority, her life, and dropped it into Preston's hand. "Get her out of there," Arthur said. "And Maya?" "Yes, Dad." "Put Preston on. Preston, you are now the senior gate agent for this flight. Upgrade the passengers who witnessed this scene to the business lounge vouchers for next time, and make sure my daughter gets to her seat." "Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir." Preston beamed. Bellamy stood there, a shell of a woman. "But how do I get home?" she whispered. "I live in London. I was working the flight to get back." Arthur heard her. "Regal Horizon does not provide transport for non-NMIP employees, and as of 60 seconds ago, you are a non-employee. I suggest you check the other airlines. I hear economy on budget air is lovely this time of year." The line clicked dead. The walk of shame Bellamy G had to endure was agonizing. Officer Davis, though not arresting her, escorted her out of the terminal as a security risk, since she no longer had a valid badge. Every step was documented by the passengers she had sneered at minutes before. Maya watched her go, feeling a strange mix of relief and sadness. She didn't enjoy destroying someone's life, but she knew Bellamy would have done the same to her without a second thought if she hadn't been Arthur King's daughter. Miss King, Preston said softly, "I'm so sorry about that. I should have said something earlier." Maya looked at Preston. He was young and scared. "You kept your head down, Preston." "I get it. She was your boss. But next time, speak up. You never know who you're talking to. I will." Preston promised. "Please let me scan you in." Maya retrieved her digital pass. Preston scanned it. The machine beeped a happy green. "Welcome, Miss King, seat 1A. As Maya walked down the jet bridge, the adrenaline began to fade, replaced by exhaustion. She entered the aircraft. The cabin was bathed in soft blue mood lighting. The seats were massive private suites with sliding doors. The purser, a kind woman named Elena, greeted her. "Welcome aboard, Miss King. Your father sent a message ahead to the cockpit." "We are honored to have you. Thanks, Elena," Maya said, dropping her canvas bag into the overhead bin. "Just treat me like everyone else, please." Elena smiled. "Of course. Can I get you a pre-departure drink? Champagne sparkling water." "Water is fine, and maybe a blanket." Maya sank into the plush leather seat. She looked out the window as the rain continued to streak the glass. She saw a figure on the tarmac below, walking toward the employee shuttle bus in the pouring rain, dragging a small suitcase. It was Bellamy. Maya watched until the bus drove away. The plane took off, soaring above the clouds, leaving the pettiness and the prejudice on the ground. But the story wasn't over. The video the passenger recorded had been uploaded, and by the time Maya landed in London, 7 hours later, the world would know the name. Bellamy G. However, Mia's arrival in London was not going to be the quiet return she expected. Her father had mentioned a surprise at Heathrow, and with Arthur King, surprises usually meant complications. As the plane taxied to the gate at Heathrow, Maya turned her phone back on. It exploded with notifications. The video was viral. Matri Regal Horizon Racist was trending #1 on Twitter. But there was one text message that made her blood run cold. It wasn't from her father. It was from an unknown number. Text: "You think getting a gate agent fired makes you a hero. You just made a very powerful enemy. Watch your back in London." Maya frowned. Bellamy was a nobody, a bitter ex-employee. Who would threaten her on Bellamy's behalf? The text message burned on Maya's screen as the plane docked at Terminal 3 in Heathrow. "You think getting a gate agent fired makes you a hero. You just made a very powerful enemy. Watch your back in London." Maya's thumb hovered over the delete button, but her legal training kicked in. Evidence. She took a screenshot instead. She considered forwarding it to her father. But Arthur King was currently in the air flying from New York to Tokyo for a summit. He wouldn't be reachable for another 12 hours. She was on her own. Ms. King. Maya looked up. Elena the purser was standing by her seat. "We've been cleared to disembark. Ground services are waiting for you at the jet bridge to escort you through customs. VIP protocol." "Thank you, Elena." Maya grabbed her canvas bag. She felt a strange heaviness in the pit of her stomach. The surprise her father had mentioned was at this VIP escort. She stepped out of the aircraft into the cool, damp air of the jet bridge. Standing there were 2 men in dark suits. They didn't look like the friendly guest services agents she was used to. They were broad-shouldered with earpieces and eyes that scanned the area with predatory focus. Ms. King, the taller one, said. He didn't smile. "I'm Mr. Graves. This is Mr. Cohen. We're here to take you to the private lounge. Your father arranged a briefing." A briefing? Maya frowned. "I'm just here for a vacation. I'm going to my hotel." "Change of plans," Graves said, smoothly stepping in to block her path to the general exit. "Security concerns regarding the incident in New York. The press is swarming the public exits. We need to take the back way." It sounded plausible. The video had gone viral. Paparazzi loved a scandal involving billionaires' daughters. Maya nodded through the knot in her stomach, tightened. Fine, led the way. They escorted her down a service staircase, bypassing the long immigration queues. They moved through a labyrinth of concrete corridors reserved for staff and cargo. The air smelled of jet fuel and industrial cleaner. "This seems like a long way around," Maya noted, tightening her grip on her bag. "Almost there," Cohen grunted. They stopped at a heavy steel door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." No entry. Graves swiped a keycard. The door hissed open, revealing not a luxurious lounge, but a stark, windowless conference room. In the center sat a glass table, and behind it sat a man Mia didn't recognize. He was in his late 40s, wearing a suit that cost more than Mia's tuition. He had slicked back, grey hair, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "My king," the man said, standing up and buttoning his jacket. "A pleasure. I've heard so much about you today." Maya didn't step fully into the room. "Who are you?" "You're not my father's staff." "Technically I am." The man said, "I'm Victor Halloway, Regional Director of European Operations for Regal Horizon. I handle logistics." "Mr. Halloway," Maya said, keeping her voice even. "Why am I here?" "Please sit." He gestured to a chair. Graves and Cohen stepped behind Mia, effectively cutting off her retreat. She sat. Halloway sighed, looking like a disappointed school principal. "You caused quite a stir in New York. Mia Bellamy Galt was one of my best agents. 20 years of service, and you incinerated her career in 5 minutes. She discriminated against me." Maya said, her chin high. She ripped up my ticket. She deserved to be fired. Did she? Holloway walked around the table leaning against the edge? Or did she just get in the way of a spoiled child flexing her daddy's power? Excuse me. Bellamy was strict, maybe a little abrasive, but she was protecting the integrity of the first-class cabin. And you destroyed her life. Holloway's voice dropped. But that's not why we're here. We are here because of where you sat. Seat 1A. Maya blinked. What about it? Seat 1A on Flight 82 is a very special seat, Maya. It's usually blocked. Did you wonder why I assumed it was for pilot rest? It's for my cargo, said his veneer of politeness cracking. I have a courier arrangement. High-priority documents, prototypes, things that can't go through customs scanners. They are taped under the cushion of Seat 1A. Bellamy ensures the seat remains empty, so my courier can retrieve the package during the cleaning cycle in London. Maya's eyes widened. It clicked. Bellamy wasn't just a racist. She was a mule, or at least an accomplice. She ripped the ticket not just because she hated how Mia looked, but because she was terrified Mia would find the package or prevent the retrieval. "You're smuggling," Maya whispered. "Using my father's planes." "I'm maximizing assets," Holloway corrected. "But tonight, because you insisted on sitting there, my retrieval team couldn't get on the plane during the turnaround. The package is still on board, and now the plane is being towed to the hangar for a maintenance check ordered by your father, because of the incident, which means federal inspectors will be swarming it." Holloway leaned in his face, inches from hers. "You cost me $5 million tonight, Maya, and you put my entire operation at risk." "So that was you texting me?" Maya said that was a warning. "This," he gestured to the room, "is the negotiation I don't negotiate with criminals," Maya said, standing up. "I'm calling my father." Graves snatched the phone from her hand before she could even unlock it. "Sit down," Graves barked. Holloway smiled thinly. "Here is the deal, Maya. You are going to record a new video. You will say the previous video was a misunderstanding. You will say Bellamy was actually polite, and you were having a bad day and overreacted. You will demand she be reinstated. Once she is back, she can access the system to divert the maintenance crew, and I can get my package." "You're insane," Maya said. "The internet won't believe that." Bellamy ripped my ticket. "People believe what they want to believe." Holloway shrugged. "Especially if the victim recants. If you do this, you walk out of here, go to your hotel, and enjoy your vacation. If you don't, he let the threat hang in the air." "And if I refuse, then we find something in your luggage," Holloway said, eyeing her canvas bag. "Drugs, perhaps a weapon. It would be tragic if the airline was arrested for international smuggling. Your father's stock price would tank. He might even be forced to step down." Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. This was a set-up, a perfect corporate trap. "I need a moment," she said, trying to buy time. "You have 5 minutes," said. He nodded to Graves and Cohen, and the three men stepped out of the room, locking the heavy steel door behind them. Maya was alone. She scanned the room. No windows. One door, a camera in the corner, blinking red. She checked her pockets. They had taken her phone, but they hadn't searched her person thoroughly. She had her smartwatch, but it was out of range of her phone and couldn't make calls without it. She paced the room, her mind racing. Holloway needed Bellamy back to manipulate the system. That meant Bellamy was the key. Suddenly the door hissed. Maya spun around, expecting Holloway. Instead, a disheveled woman stumbled in. Her eyes were red and puffy, her makeup smeared. She was wearing a trench coat over her uniform, stripped of her badges. It was Bellamy. She looked at Ma with a mixture of hatred and desperation. "You," Bellamy spat. "You did this." "Me," Maya scoffed. "You dug your own grave, Bellamy. and now you're digging it deeper, working for Holloway." Bellamy froze. "You know he just told me he wants me to get you your job back, so you can retrieve his package from seat 1A. Bellamy slumped into a chair, putting her head in her hands. "He told you that, idiot. He promised he would handle it. He's going to handle it by framing me for drug smuggling if I don't help," Maya said. "And what do you think happens to you once he gets his package, Bellamy? Do you think he leaves loose ends?" Bellamy looked up, fear dawning in her eyes. "He said he'd take care of me. He said he'd pay me a retirement bonus." "He's using you," Maya said, stepping closer. "Just like he used you to guard that seat. You were the bulldog at the gate. And when the bulldog bit the wrong person, what did he do? Did he come out and save you in New York? No, he let you get fired. He let you get humiliated." Bellamy was trembling. "I had no choice. 5 years ago, I made a mistake on a manifest. He fixed it. But then he owned me. He made me block seats. Just once in a while, he said. Then it became every week. 'What's in the seat? Bellamy diamonds,' she whispered. 'Uncut diamonds from conflict zones.' He moves them through the airline to avoid customs." Maya felt a chill. This was bigger than she thought. Blood diamonds. Bellamy! "Listen to me," Maya said, her voice urgent. "Holloway isn't going to let either of us walk away. If I make that video and he gets his diamonds, he doesn't need us anymore. He'll get rid of you to cut the link to the crime." "So what do I do?" Bellamy cried. "I have nothing. You took my job. I can give you something better." Maya said, "Immunity and protection." You Bellamy laughed bitterly. "You're a student. I'm Arthur King's daughter, and I'm studying corporate law. If you help me take Holloway down right now, I will personally advocate for a plea deal for you. You won't get your job back. You don't deserve it, but you won't go to prison for smuggling. Holloway will." Bellamy looked at the door, then back at Maya. She was cornered. She had seen Holloway's ruthlessness firsthand. She knew Mia was right. Holloway viewed people as disposable assets. How Bellamy asked. "They took your phone." Maya looked at the conference phone on the glass table. "Does that line work?" "It's an internal line only," Bellamy said. "It only dials extensions within the airport." "Does it dial the PA system?" Maya asked, an idea forming. Bellamy's eyes widened. "Yes, code 99. It overrides the terminal music for emergency announcements. And where is Holloway right now? He's right outside the door, waiting for you to break." Maya grabbed the conference phone. "Bellamy, how do you access the hidden compartment in seat 1A? Is there a code?" "It's mechanical," Bellamy said. "You have to lift the armrest and press a latch underneath while reclining onto the seat fully." "Good to know," Maya said. She picked up the receiver. "When Holloway comes back in, I need you to play along. Can you do that?" "I think so." "You better," Maya said, "because your freedom depends on it." The door opened. Holloway walked in, flanked by his guards. He looked at Bellamy with disdain. "I see you two have caught up," Holloway sneered. "Bellamy, shut up and stand in the corner. Maya, is the video ready?" Maya stood tall. "I'll do it." Holloway smiled. "Smart girl." He pulled out Maya's phone and handed it to her. "Record it now live. Go on Instagram or whatever you kids use. Say it was a prank that went wrong." Maya took the phone. She unlocked it. She opened Instagram. She hit the live button. Clear's throat. "Hello, everyone," Maya said to the camera, her voice trembling slightly. The viewer count skyrocketed instantly. People were waiting for an update on the viral story. "I'm here at Heathrow. I have an update on the Bellamy G situation." Clear's throat. Holloway nodded encouragingly from behind the camera. But first, Maya said, her voice hardening, "I want to introduce you to Victor Holloway." She spun the camera around. Holloway froze, his eyes widening. "This is the man," Maya shouted, backing away. who is forcing me to retract my statement. He is holding me against my will in a service room at Terminal 3. Cut the feed. Holloway roared, lunging for her. Maya threw the phone under the heavy glass table where he couldn't reach it easily. The camera was still streaming, capturing Holloway's furious face and his guards scrambling. "Bellamy now!" Maya yelled. Bellamy grabbed the conference phone and punched in. 910-9. Attention all security personnel and passengers. Bellamy screamed into the receiver, her voice booming through the Enter Heathrow Terminal 3 overhead speakers. "This is Senior Agent G. There is a hostage situation in Conference Room B Service, Corridor 4. Victor Holloway is attacking Maya King. Send armed police immediately." The sound of her own voice echoing from the hallway outside was deafening. Holloway turned on Bellamy, his face purple with rage. "You traitorous witch!" He pulled a small silver pistol from his jacket. Maya didn't think. She acted. She grabbed the heavy pitcher of ice water from the table and hurled it. It smashed into Holloway's shoulder, throwing his aim off. The gun went off, crack shattering the glass partition on the wall. "Graves, Cohen, get them! Clear's throat!" Holloway screamed, clutching his shoulder. Graves lunged for Maya. Maya dropped to the floor, rolling under the table to retrieve her phone. She saw the comments flooding the screen. "OMG, is that a gun call? The police, Heathrow police, are on the way." Cohen grabbed Bellamy by the hair. Bellamy clawed at his face, screaming. "Let her go!" Maya yelled, kicking out from under the table. Her sneaker connected with Graves's shin. He grunted, but reached down and dragged her out by her ankle. "It's over, Holloway." Maya gasped as she was hauled up. "There are thousands of people watching." Clear's throat. "The police are coming." Holloway looked at the phone on the floor, still streaming the ceiling. He looked at the door. He could hear the sirens wailing on the tarmac outside. He realized the game was up. "Leave them." Holloway spat at his guards. "We go now." "You can't leave the diamonds," Graves argued. "Forget the diamonds. We need to get to the private jet before they lock down the airport." Holloway turned to run, but the heavy steel door, the one he had locked to keep Maya in, was now his obstacle. He fumbled with the key card. His hands were shaking too much. Beep, beep, buzz. Access denied. "Open it!" he screamed at Graves. Graves swiped his card. "Beep, beep, buzz. System lock down," Bellamy said, breathless, leaning against the wall. "When I dialed code 99, it triggers an automatic mag lock on all secure doors in the sector. Only the police can open it now." Holloway slowly turned back to face them. He looked like a trapped rat. "You!" He pointed the gun at Bellamy. "I should have fired you years ago." "You should have," Bellamy said, her voice shaking but defiant. "But you got greedy." Holloway raised the gun. "I'm going to prison anyway. Might as well finish the job." He aimed at Bellamy. Maya didn't have a weapon. She didn't have a picture. But she had the one thing. Holloway underestimated the element of surprise. She tackled Holloway from the side. It wasn't a graceful cinematic move. It was a desperate, clumsy collision. But it was enough. Holloway, off balance and injured, toppled over. The gun skittered across the floor. Graves and Cohen moved to intervene, but the steel door suddenly blasted open with a hydraulic hiss. Armed police dropped to the ground. Now a squad of tactical officers flooded the small room. Rifles raised. The red laser sights danced across Holloway's suit. Down. Everybody down. Maya dropped to her knees, raising her hands. She looked over at Holloway, who was pinned to the carpet by two officers, his face pressed into the dust. She looked at Bellamy, who was sobbing in the corner, being handcuffed by a female officer. Maya took a deep breath. She was alive. The next few hours were a blur of statements, lawyers and flashes of cameras. Arthur King arrived 6 hours later, his private jet diverted mid-flight. When he walked into the holding room at Heathrow Police Station, he looked like a man who could level a mountain with a stare. He hugged Maya so hard, She thought her ribs might crack. "I'm okay, Dad," she mumbled into his tuxedo. "I'm okay." Arthur pulled back, holding her by the shoulders. "You are grounded," he said, his eyes wet. "For fighting a gunman." "But I'm also incredibly proud." He turned to the lawyer standing next to him. "Make sure Holloway never sees the sun again. Buried under so many lawsuits, he won't be able to afford air to breathe." "Already in motion, sir," the lawyer said. Then Arthur looked at the other holding cell. Through the glass, Bellamy sat alone. She wasn't in cuffs anymore, but she looked small and broken. "What about her?" Arthur asked Maya. "She started this." "She did," Maya said. "She was awful, Dad. Racist, cruel, and complicit. But she saved my life in that room. She called the code. She triggered the lockdown." Arthur nodded slowly. Karma has a way of balancing the books. 3 months later, the courtroom in London was packed. The trial of Victor Holloway was the headline of every paper. The charges were extensive smuggling, kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, corporate fraud. Maya sat in the front row, wearing a sharp navy blazer. She wasn't hiding in a hoodie anymore. Holloway was sentenced to 25 years in maximum security prison. His assets were seized. His reputation was obliterated. Then came Bellamy's sentencing. She stood before the judge looking older than her years. She had pleaded guilty to aiding a smuggling operation. "Bellamy Galt," the judge ironed. "Your actions were reprehensible. You abused your position of trust. However, the court recognizes your cooperation in the apprehension of Mr. Holloway and the testimony of the victim, Ms. King, regarding your actions to protect her during the standoff." The judge paused. "You are sentenced to 2 years in prison suspended. You will serve 3 years of community service. You are permanently banned from working in the aviation industry or entering any airport in the United Kingdom." It was a light sentence, legally speaking. But for Bellamy, it was a life sentence of a different kind. Her identity, the woman who controlled the gate, who decided who was worthy, was gone. She was grounded forever. The gavel's echo faded in the London courtroom, but the repercussions of that night at JFK were only just beginning. The end of the criminal trial wasn't the conclusion of the story. It was the start of a grueling, real-life dismantling of a corrupted system. Maya King learned quickly that true karma isn't just a cosmic force. It is bureaucratic, slow, and agonizingly thorough. Arthur King didn't view the verdict as closure. He saw the incident as a symptom of a rot deep within Regal Horizons' infrastructure. A rot that had allowed a man like Holloway to operate a smuggling ring from seat 1A for 5 years, and a woman like Bellamy to act as his gatekeeper based on prejudice. A week after the verdict, Arthur convened an emergency meeting of the board of directors in the Manhattan headquarters. The view of the city was expansive, but the mood inside was claustrophobic. Maya sat next to her father. She was no longer just the founder's daughter. She was the catalyst. "We are hemorrhaging credibility." Arthur announced, his voice devoid of its usual warmth. He threw a 90-page independent audit report onto the polished mahogany table with a heavy thud. This audit reveals that Victor Holloway wasn't working alone. He had a network, baggage handlers looking the other way, scheduling managers ensuring his specific aircraft flew the London route, and gate agents like Ms. Gort conditioned to profile and block seats. The board members shifted uncomfortably. Arthur One ventured. "Surely the swift action against Holloway shows we are taking this seriously. The public has a short memory. Maya has a long memory." Arthur retorted sharply, and I suspect the millions of people who viewed that video do too. "We are not sweeping this under the rug. We are burning the rug." The purge was brutal. Over the next 6 months, 55 employees across 3 continents were fired for ties to Holloway's operation. Security protocols were overhauled with draconian intensity. Arthur ordered physical inspections of every first-class seat on transatlantic flights, a delay that cost millions, but sent a clear message. Maya didn't take a job at a prestigious law firm after graduation. Instead, she took an office down the hall from her father as the new director of Customer Equity and Compliance. It wasn't a fluff role. It was internal affairs with teeth. Her first initiative was the G Protocol, a mandatory intensive training program for every customer-facing employee, focusing on bias and de-escalation. Maya attended every session in the first month, standing before lecture halls filled with resentful staff who felt punished for Bellamy's sins. "You think you're here because of one bad apple," Maya told a sullen group in Atlanta. "You're wrong. You're here because the soil that Apple grew in was toxic." Bellamy Gold felt comfortable ripping up my ticket because the culture allowed her to believe she was the arbiter of who belonged. My job is to ensure none of you ever make that mistake again. It was exhausting work. Maya hardened. The carefree student in the hoodie was gone, replaced by an executive who wore armor-like tailored suits. She had won the war against Holloway, but the peace was an uneasy one. While Maya ascended into the corporate stratosphere, fighting to change the system that had attacked her, Bellamy Galt was experiencing the suffocating reality of the karma Mir's father had predicted. The judge's sentence of a suspended prison term sounded lenient on paper. In practice, it was a slow-motion eraser of her existence. Bellamy was banned from airports. For a woman whose entire identity was tied to the rhythm of international travel and the authority of the gate, this was an exile. She couldn't fly to see family. She couldn't even enter a terminal to pick up a friend. The glamorous world she pretended to rule had slammed its doors in her face. Then came the economic reality. With a criminal record for aiding a smuggling ring and her face synonymous with viral racism, Bellamy was unemployable in any sector requiring trust. The savings she had planned to use for a retirement condo in Spain were drained by legal fees. 6 months after the trial, Bellamy was forcing herself through a night shift stocking shelves at a massive 24-hour supermarket on the outskirts of London. It was grueling physical labor that paid minimum wage. She wore a shapeless uniform that smelled of cardboard dust, a far cry from the crisp scarf and blazer of Regal Horizon. The real punishment, however, was the recognition. One rainy Tuesday night at 3 a.m., Clear's throat. Bellamy was stocking cereal boxes, her back aching. She heard giggling in the aisle behind her. "No way is that her," a young male voice whispered. "The airplane lady." Bellamy froze, clutching a box of cornflakes, keeping her head down. They walked into her aisle. 2 university-aged students, phones out recording. "Hey!" the guy shouted, shoving his camera into Bellamy's face. "It is you, the ticket ripper. How's the first-class life treating you now?" Bellamy recoiled, shielding her face. "Please leave me alone. I'm just working." "Oh, she's just working," the girl mocked. "Did you check my cereal box for diamonds before you put it on the shelf?" They laughed, cruel and relentless, following her, until the night manager, who knew exactly who she was and despised her, told them to leave, but not before docking Bellamy 15 minutes of pay for causing a scene. The video of her stocking shelves went viral the next day. The comments were merciless. Karma didn't just hit her, it ran her over with a luggage cart. From first-class lounge to the cereal aisle, life comes at you fast. Bellamy sat in her small, damp apartment, watching the view count climb. She was trapped. She couldn't leave the country. She couldn't get a better job. She couldn't escape her own face. The arrogance that had defined her at Gate B32 was gone, replaced by a constant gnawing fear. She had tried to make Maya feel small. Now the world made Bellamy feel microscopic every single day. 1 year after the trial, Maya King found herself back at JFK Terminal 4. She wasn't flying. She was conducting a spot inspection. The terminal looked the same. The hum of lights, the smell of coffee, but the atmosphere was different. The branding was softer, focused on inclusivity. Maya walked toward Gate B32, approaching the old battlefield. The gate agent behind the podium was Sarah, a graduate of Mia's new training protocol. As Mia watched, a situation developed. A large, red-faced man in an expensive suit was berating Sarah. "Do you know how much I fly with this airline?" the man shouted, slamming his hand on the podium. "My bag is 2 lb overweight. Just let it slide. Bellamy always let it slide." The name hung in the air. Maya stood near the wall observing. Sarah, clear's throat, didn't flinch. "Sir," she said calmly, "I understand your frustration. However, federal safety regulations are strict. I cannot override the system. You can remove 2 or pay the fee. Those are the options. This is ridiculous. I'm a platinum member." "And we value your business," Sarah said, maintaining her professional cool, which is why we want to ensure this flight departs safely. "How would you like to proceed?" the man huffed, realizing he wasn't going to win. He pulled out his credit card. "Fine, charge it." Sarah processed the transaction efficiently and handed him his receipt with a genuine smile. It was a small, mundane interaction, but to Mia it was profound. The ghost of Bellamy Galt. The culture of bending rules for the right people and enforcing them on the wrong ones had been exercised. Mia waited until the line cleared, then approached. Sarah looked up, her smile faltering slightly when she recognized her boss. "Miss King, good morning. I hope I handled that correctly." Maya smiled, a warm expression that reached her eyes. "You handled it perfectly, Sarah. By the book, with dignity for everyone involved." "Thank you. The new protocols, they make it easier when the rules are the same for everyone. That's the goal," Maya said. She turned away from the gate and looked out the floor to ceiling windows. A Regal Horizon jet was taxiing toward the runway. The rain had stopped, and the sky over New York was a brilliant, clear blue. Maya touched the pocket of her blazer, where she still kept the photo of her ripped boarding pass, a digital scar she refused to delete. She knew the fight wasn't over. Prejudice wasn't cured. It was just managed, pushed back into the shadows by vigilance. There would always be people like Bellamy and predators like Holloway. But as she watched the massive plane lift off the tarmac, defying gravity and soaring toward the horizon, Maya felt a sense of closure. She hadn't just survived the incident. She had used the wreckage to build something stronger. She had taken the ticket they tried to destroy and used it to rewrite the destination. The flight attendant who tried to break her had, in the end, only fueled her ascent. And while Bellamy Galt was stocking shelves in the dark, Maya King was just beginning to fly. The story of Maya King and Bellamy Galt serves as a stark reminder that in our hyper-connected world, the smallest acts of prejudice can trigger massive consequences. What began as a gate agent's arrogant refusal to acknowledge a young black woman's legitimacy escalated into the dismantling of an international criminal operation. Bellamy believed her authority at the gate was absolute. But she learned that true power doesn't lie in exclusion. It lies in justice. Maya used her privilege not to escape the situation, but to shine a light on it, proving that sometimes the hardest flights lead to the most necessary destinations. The karma was real systemic, and it changed everything. If you enjoyed this story of high-altitude drama, hard-hitting justice, and real-life consequences, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to share this video with anyone who loves a good story about karma. Striking back and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss our next thrilling upload. Thanks for watching. Thanks.